Some thoughts about Genesis 43, 44, and 45. We'll do it all in one fell swoop here. Genesis 43 is where Judah, who was the tribe that from which Christ would come, which of course would have its own kingdom during the time of the kings, separated from the rest of Israel. Judah takes the reins here before his father and made basically the same deal as Reuben had done. But Judah now had said unto Israel, his father, send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be a surety for him, of my hand thou shalt require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame forever. He was the picture of Christ. And see, there's an interesting changing of the guard here also. I mean, just like there's a number of changing of the guards in the Bible. You know, when the high priest rent his clothes when Jesus was to be crucified, I believe, because that was breaking of a law of God, that Jesus took the reins as high priest, the great high priest at that point. And there's other interesting changing of the guard kind of things. There's some things, I think of Acts 7, where they laid the cloaks of the guys that stoned Stephen at the feet of Paul. I don't know exactly who Paul might have taken over for in that situation. I don't know, maybe Stephen. I'm not sure what Stephen's actual purpose was or how he'd fallen, Well, anyways, getting kind of off the point here, but anyway, Judah takes the place of Joseph. Actually, Joseph was the picture of Christ, the suffering that he dealt with, the deliverance that he provided through God. That God was the one who gave him the dreams and the words, and God had put it into Joseph's hand to protect the world, and also certainly the children of Israel. But Joseph went a little too far when he said here, he had the feast with his brothers, and then when they were sending him off, he said, hey, put this golden cup in their bag. See, his brethren were there. He was assured of their safety and of their life, that they were still alive. His father was alive. Now proof had been come that Benjamin was alive. I never thought about this before. I just wondered if he actually wanted Benjamin to come, because he didn't trust his brothers. He didn't believe him. I mean, why would he? But, he'd gone through a bad time, of course. But I think, he wasn't ready to forgive, and so he wanted to kind of put them through a little trouble. Although he finally admits and says, it was not you, but God. Okay, and I'm not finding where that exactly is. But nonetheless, he said the thing about he's able to divine when he did the thing with the silver cup. He told his guy, right here, it's actually in 44, this is where he tells him to said unto his steward, up follow after the men, and when thou hast overtake them, say, wherefore have you rewarded evil for good? And the deal with the silver cup. Then he says, is not this in which my Lord drinketh, and whereby indeed he divineth? God was against this divination stuff. So he went too far there. This wasn't something ordained of God that God didn't have him to do. He didn't need to do that. He was now assured of his brother Benjamin's safety, and he could have just gone to the point where he finally did. But I will say that God allowed that to happen so that once again Judah. Notice it even says here, and Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house. It's like Judah led the way. Why doesn't it say, and Reuben and his brethren came to Joseph's house? Because Judah led the way. is a picture of Christ. He led the way. The rest of the tribes of Israel, just like Jesus leading the way with his lost sheep, the disciples, as he led the way and was the first fruits of salvation as he rose into heaven and blessed them and rose to heaven. And Judah said, "What shall we say unto my Lord?" And he goes on with this big old speech here, all the way from 17, all the way to the end of the chapter, verse 34. And it's a very passionate speech, and I believe that Joseph couldn't take it anymore. I mean, it says he could not refrain himself before all of them. He listened to all that, and he was probably like going from, being still angry with these guys to recognizing the sincerity that he'd finally mentioned. I'm giving up my kids. And if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father. Once again, he says, forever. He doesn't realize that the Messiah was going to be recognized through his seed. It wasn't a blood relationship, but it was David. Well, David wasn't even through Judah, but I don't know. I think David was Benjamin, right? Oh, that's interesting too. But so anyway, then 45, and there was something else I was going to mention about this. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, but I want to just wrap it up here. Can you imagine how dramatic this would be? Here he's been talking to him in Egyptian the whole time, and then he cries out in Egyptian and he says, "Cause every man to go out from me." And the Egyptians knew what he was saying, and they left. And then while those guys were scurrying to get out, and can you imagine how scared those brothers were? What's going on? What's going on? What is he doing? And all these guys are leaving. It's like, what's he doing? And then when they're all without, he wept aloud, so loud that the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. And now he's talking Hebrew. "I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live?" So he was, see, this is kind of proof. I never thought of this either. He was showing that he didn't believe these guys. But when Judah makes this strong statement, if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. And then it's like, they must be telling the truth. Does my father yet live? Is he really still alive? Then it's like, bring them all down. Bring them all down. But then he's talking to him. And it's funny because there's this big speech here. And then after he starts kissing them and stuff, he kisses Benjamin first. And then he kisses his brothers. Way down here finally. And then it says, and after that his brethren talked with him. So now they're the ones that are believing. He didn't believe them. Now they're not believing him because they're in shock and they're standing there with their mouths hanging wide open while this guy's talking to him in Hebrew, this Egyptian, and they didn't get it till it got to where he kissed his brother. And I think they recognized, this is the brother of my mother Rachel, who our father loved very much. I mean, can you imagine the joyful kind of a thing? And then it's interesting here too because the Pharaoh says, look, we'll take care of you, we'll take for you. And he says, regard not your stuff. It's basically like, hey, look, we'll take care of you. Just leave all your stuff there. And we'll take care of you. Right there. Also, regard not your stuff. In the next chapter, we'll find out that they took all their stuff. Which actually was a good thing because God blessed them with lots of stuff. And he was going to bless them with even more. So we'll get on with the next chapter, 46. Please join me with that.